And we want to let you know that the president is still speaking right now at the University of Wisconsin. But want to let you know what he had to say just a few moments ago about today's jobs report.
The unemployment rate's now down to 5.3%. Keep in mind, when I came into office, it was hovering around 10%. All told, we've now seen 64 straight months of private sector job growth, which is a new record.
So what about the 8.3 million people who looked but still couldn't find a job last month? What does this mean for the state of the job market and, of course, the overall U.S. economy? We asked the U.S. Secretary of Labor, Thomas Perez. Secretary, it's great to have you on the show and good to see you again.
Always a pleasure, Cheryl. Happy holidays to you.
You too as well. Well, as we go into this holiday weekend, we're looking at some good, some bad on these numbers, but I do want to stick with that 8.3 million number and that participation rate that we're looking at, the U6, if you will. Some market analysts today are kind of questioning whether or not that's really a good piece of news for the U.S. economy. How do you respond to them when they say this report was okay? The unemployment rate did not go down for the right reasons. What do you say to them?
Well, you look at the two-year trend, Cheryl, and we've had the best 2 years of job growth since the last 2 years of the Clinton administration. And so when you look at that trend data, that's pretty darn good. At the depths of the recession, we had 7 roughly job seekers for every job opening. Now we have about 1.7. So we're moving in the right direction. What this report illustrates is both the progress we've made, 223,000 jobs, and the challenges that remain. And you're correct when you point out that wage stagnation remains an issue that we need to deal with. That's why the president, as we speak, is talking in La Crosse about overtime, because there's too many people working as managers, and those are middle-class jobs, but they got hollowed out as a result of a Bush-era regulation that really created an unlevel playing field by giving leverage to employers and taking leverage from workers. And so that's part of the unfinished business, is raising wages.
Well, I remember when you took office, Secretary, that was one of your big pushes, your initiatives was to work on wages. Again, though, we're seeing that flat. So that's one issue. But also, you mentioned the overtime rules the president's talking about right now. We're monitoring his comments.
Sure.
The National Retail Federation came out with a statement and said that they're very concerned about this new proposal from the president. They're worried that this is going to force, in particular within the service sector, the retail sector, that there's going to be more job losses. How do you respond to critics who say that this will result in actually job losses if you indeed have to pay overtime to 5 million more Americans than previously?
Well, actually, I've read that report, and it talks about job gains. And here's how you get job gains. You've got people working 60 hours a week right now making $25,000. That's poverty wages. So what this rule is going to do is a number of things, all of which are good for workers. Some employers are going to lift the wage of that manager, and that's a good thing because that's a raise for that manager. Other employers are going to move that manager down from 60 hours to 40 hours, but that person will be making the same pay, but that person gets the invaluable gift of 20 hours with her family. And that 20 hours, that employer is going to have to find another worker to fill the void. So they have to hire, either take some of their part-time workers and have them work more, or hire new workers. So all of those scenarios are good for workers. And, management job, that manager job used to be a middle-class job when I was growing up, and it got hollowed out, not because of globalization, but because of a 2004 rule that was put in place by the Bush administration that gave more leverage to employers by taking it away from workers. That's not fair, and it's not consistent with the letter or spirit of the Fair Labor Standards Act, and that's why the president wants us to change it.
The president actually is addressing this right now, Secretary. Let's listen in here for just a moment.
Sure.
I want to get your reaction.
Sure.
We've also got to give every American the chance to earn the skills they need to stay competitive. That's why we've got to be investing in job training and apprenticeships that help folks earn the skills for that new job or better paying job. That's why we should make community college free for responsible students like Tammy Baldwin is introducing in the United States Senate. No middle-class family should be priced out of the education that they need. And we need to keep churning out high-wage jobs for better trained workforce to fill. which means investing in basic research.
Okay, so the president, secretary, just kind of basically saying what you were to me on Fox Business, basically at the same time, that it's not fair, basically, to these American workers. But at the same time, what is to stop a company like a Walmart, not that they've told us they're going to do this, to stop a Walmart or a Target from actually hiring those lower salaried workers and getting rid of that management job? You know, you mentioned that it's great to be a manager. I know I was a retail manager when I was a kid. Get rid of that management job, hire those lower salary workers so they avoid the overtime rules, because that would be legal and fair.
Well, I go back to what I would call behavioral economics 101. This group of employees that we're talking about, these managers, they are some of the most valuable employees in the workplace. They're opening the store, they're closing the store, they're hiring people, they're mentoring people. I spoke to the CEO of a company called HEB. It's a grocery store chain in Texas. They have 80,000 employees. They have $12 billion in business. They compete with Walmart. And they support this rule because he understands. I talked to the CEO day before yesterday. He understands that these managers are the glue of their operation. And it makes, as he said to me, it would make no sense for me to get rid of my managers. The best thing I can do is pay them well. So I'm confident that this rule is going to work for everyone. And
we hope that every business takes that tack. We do. We certainly don't want to see any job losses, and we'll just have to see where all of this goes. Again, the president's still speaking as we're speaking with you. I know that you have to go, though, Secretary Perez. Thank you very much, though, for speaking with Fox Business today.
Always a pleasure, Cheryl. Happy 4th of July to you and your listeners.
You as well.